The sky above the planet, Zorath, burned with strange colors, green and violet streaks across a darkening horizon. Jagged mountains and deep craters marked the land, remnants of battles long past. Captain Marcus Hale stood at the edge of a crater, his armor scratched and dented, his breathing steady despite the chaos around him. Behind him, the human soldiers of the United Earth Expedition moved carefully, scanning the horizon for alien patrols. Zorath was not an ordinary planet. Its air shimmered with energy, and the ground pulsed faintly, as if the planet itself was alive. For decades, humans had tried to understand it, but only now had they ventured close to the heart of the alien empire. At the center of the capital city stood the towering citadel of the alien queen, a figure both feared and revered. Marcus adjusted the visor of his helmet, his eyes catching movement near the citadel gates. Alien warriors, tall, muscular, with blue-gray skin and glowing eyes, stood ready. They carried weapons that hummed with energy, their presence alone enough to make a human shiver. Marcus's squad took defensive positions, every sense alert. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah whispered, her voice tense. "The Queen herself is observing us. We're exposed if she decides to act." Marcus nodded without speaking. He knew the stories. The Queen was ruthless, intelligent, and merciless. No human had ever faced her without suffering losses. But Marcus was not here to fight blindly. He had orders: attempt diplomacy first, survive second. From the citadel steps, the alien queen appeared. She was taller than any human, with a regal presence that made the soldiers instinctively bow. Her armor was sleek, black with silver patterns that seemed to shift and flow as if alive. Her eyes glowed softly, a piercing light that seemed to see through everything. "You humans dare come here," she said, her voice calm but sharp, "into the heart of my empire? Tell me, what do you hope to achieve?" Marcus stepped forward, raising his hand slightly in respect. "We come in peace," he said. "We do not wish to fight. We seek understanding and negotiation, not war." The Queen tilted her head, studying him closely. "Peace?" she asked, a hint of amusement in her tone. "Your species is weak, fragile, and yet you walk boldly into my domain. Do you think courage alone can save you?" Marcus kept his expression steady. "Courage alone may not save us," he admitted. "But it is the foundation of action. We act because we must, not because we are fearless." A ripple of surprise passed through the alien warriors. None of them had expected a human to speak with such calm conviction. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, her amusement deepening into curiosity. "You speak well, human," she said. "But words are wind. How will your actions prove you?" Marcus gestured to his squad. "We will follow the rules of engagement you set. We will show you respect and restraint. That is how humans prove themselves." The Queen stepped closer, her gaze sweeping across the soldiers. "Rules? Restraint?" she repeated slowly. "Your kind thrives on chaos, on violence. Tell me, Captain Hale, why should I believe anything you say?" Marcus felt the weight of her stare but did not flinch. "Because we value life," he said simply. "Not just our own, but all life. That is why we are here, not to conquer, not to destroy, but to find a way to live without endless war." There was a long silence. The Queen's expression softened ever so slightly, though her eyes remained sharp. "You humans are strange," she said finally. "Weak, yet stubborn. Fragile, yet unyielding. Perhaps there is something in your species that is interesting." Suddenly, alarms echoed through the city. Alien scouts reported movement beyond the hills, rogue factions within the Queen's own army seeking to attack the humans. Marcus's instincts kicked in. He raised his hand. "Hold your positions. We will not attack unless forced, but we must be ready." The Queen watched him. She expected fear, panic or immediate aggression, but Marcus moved with precision, issuing orders calmly. His soldiers responded without hesitation. Even in the face of danger, Marcus remained a pillar of discipline. "Interesting indeed," the queen murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "You may be the first human who does not flee or fight blindly, but courage alone will not save you. You will see that soon." As night fell, the planet's twin moons rose, casting silver light over the jagged landscape. Marcus and his squad set up a temporary camp near the crater. Fires flickered, and the air hummed with tension. Lieutenant Sarah finally spoke. "Captain, she doesn't respect us. Not really. How do you plan to survive if she decides to test us?" Marcus looked up at the moons, his expression calm. "Respect is not given," he said quietly. "It is earned. We survive not by fear, but by staying true to who we are. The Queen may not understand that yet, but she will." The squad fell silent, contemplating his words. Around them, the alien city loomed, imposing, mysterious, and full of danger. Marcus knew the coming days would test every human value, courage, compassion, and wisdom. But he also knew that even a single act of humanity could ripple across worlds. And somewhere in the shadowed halls of her citadel, the alien queen continued to watch. She had seen many soldiers, many generals, many diplomats. But this human, he was different, calm in the face of power, courageous in the face of cruelty, and most importantly, he carried something no weapon could ever match: conviction. As Marcus looked toward the city, the first stars appeared in the sky. He knew the real challenge was just beginning. But he also knew this: the future of both worlds might depend on the choices he made, not as a warrior, but as a human being. And so, the clash of worlds began, not with a scream of weapons, but with a silent test of courage, honor, and the quiet strength that defined humanity. The morning light crept across the jagged terrain of Zorath, painting the alien city in shades of silver and violet. The twin moons had disappeared below the horizon, leaving the sky to a pale green dawn. Captain Marcus Hale and his squad moved cautiously along the crater rim, their eyes scanning every ridge, every shadow. Despite the Queen's intimidating presence, Marcus felt a quiet determination. Today would be another test, not of weapons, but of human resolve. The alien queen observed from her citadel balcony, her glowing eyes following every movement. She had never seen a species act so calmly under pressure. Humans were reckless and emotional, yet Marcus led his soldiers with precision. Each step, each gesture seemed deliberate, as if guided by a principle that went beyond instinct. For the first time, the Queen felt curiosity, tinged with something unfamiliar: respect. Marcus signaled for his squad to halt near a narrow valley. The area had natural defenses, ideal for observing the city without exposing themselves too much. "We need to understand their patterns," Marcus said, pointing toward the gates. "Notice how they patrol, how they react to threats. Knowledge is our ally here, not weapons." Lieutenant Sarah glanced at him. "Even the Queen's guards are unpredictable. What if they see us?" "Then we remain calm," Marcus replied. "Fear will not help us. Only careful observation and discipline will." As the humans watched, a patrol of alien soldiers moved toward the valley. They were faster and stronger than humans, but Marcus's squad had studied their tactics. When the aliens slowed near a ridge, Marcus gave a silent hand signal. The humans held their positions, blending with the rocky terrain. Not a single weapon was drawn. From above, the Queen leaned forward. "They are patient," she murmured. "Most humans would panic, yet he teaches them restraint. Perhaps there is more to your kind than I imagined, Marcus Hale." Meanwhile, Marcus noticed subtle patterns in the patrols. Each soldier moved in a rhythm, communicating silently with gestures and pulses from their energy weapons. Marcus took careful mental notes, intending to use the information to prevent unnecessary conflict. Sarah, mark their positions and timing. We can use this later not to attack but to avoid confrontation. Sarah nodded, impressed by his strategic thinking. Captain, you always see the bigger picture. Most soldiers would rush in without thinking. Marcus gave a small smile. Rushing in wins battles, not respect. We're here to survive and to prove that humanity is more than just a weapon. Hours passed. The humans observed silently, moving like shadows, always careful to avoid detection. During this time, the Queen's curiosity grew. She had commanded countless campaigns, crushed entire planets, and yet she had never encountered a species that fought with restraint instead of rage. Marcus's calm defiance challenged her perception of strength. To test him, the Queen decided to send a small squad of her elite warriors toward the humans' observation point. They were fast, skilled, and trained to intimidate. Marcus noticed the movement first. Without panic, he gathered his squad and shifted their position. The humans were still exposed, but Marcus's leadership kept them calm. The alien warriors arrived, scanning the terrain with glowing eyes. Marcus remained motionless, trusting his instincts. The aliens approached closer, sensing an intruder, but Marcus did not flinch. They paused, confused by the humans' calmness. Usually, fear or aggression would betray their position, but Marcus and his squad stood like statues, breathing slowly, waiting. The Queen watched from her balcony, intrigued. They do not flee. They do not attack. What strange creatures. They have courage, but not foolishness. Discipline, yet not fear. The alien patrol eventually left, unable to provoke a reaction. Marcus signaled his squad to relax slightly. They test us because they expect fear, he said softly. We will not give it to them. Remember, the strongest weapon is self-control. That evening, Marcus and his squad returned to their temporary camp. Fires flickered, casting long shadows on the rocky ground. The humans shared a simple meal, talking quietly. Marcus listened more than he spoke, always alert, always thinking. Lieutenant Sarah finally asked, Captain, do you think the Queen respects us? Marcus shook his head gently. Not yet. Respect is earned through action, not observation. But we are planting the seeds. Every choice we make, every life we save, proves that humans are more than just soldiers. Just as night fell, an unexpected sound echoed across the valley, cries for help. Marcus reacted immediately, signaling his squad. Stay low, he whispered. We do not know the situation. It could be a trap or someone in genuine need. They moved quickly but cautiously toward the sound. In a narrow canyon, they found an alien child trapped under debris from a recent skirmish. The humans rushed to help, lifting heavy rocks and clearing the rubble. Marcus's hands were steady, his voice calm, encouraging the child. The Queen, observing through distant sensors, was silent. Saving one of her own subjects, her child, was not expected. Marcus's squad worked efficiently, never harming a living creature. When the child was finally freed, it clung to Marcus instinctively, sensing safety in his presence. You see, Marcus whispered to Sarah, courage is not just about fighting, it is about protecting life, even that of an enemy. The Queen's voice echoed in her thoughts. Humans, so strange, so weak, yet so remarkable. This one, he defies my expectations. There is something in him I cannot yet name. By the time the humans returned to camp, the incident had already begun to ripple through the alien ranks. Soldiers who witnessed the rescue spoke quietly among themselves. Whispers of curiosity, admiration, and even doubt spread through the city. the humans' actions were not just survival, they were a lesson in morality and courage. That night, Marcus looked up at the stars. He knew that Zorath was watching, not just through the Queen, but through every alien soldier present. Each act, each decision, sent a message. Humans could be strong, not through brute force, but through integrity. "Captain," Sarah said, her voice soft, "you are changing the way they see us. I can feel it. Even the Queen." Marcus nodded. "Perhaps, but change does not happen overnight. We do what we must, and let our actions speak for us. The rest will follow in time." Far above, in the heart of the citadel, the Queen watched and pondered. She had faced countless warriors, seen entire fleets destroyed by her command, yet Marcus's quiet strength unsettled her, not because of what he wielded, but because of what he represented: humanity's capacity for courage, restraint, and morality. And in that moment, the Queen realized something important. The human soldier was teaching her, without words or weapons, that strength was more than domination, that power without honor was hollow, that courage did not always roar. Sometimes it walked calmly, even in the face of danger. The night deepened over Zorath, and the twin moons rose again, casting silver light over the valley. Marcus's camp was quiet, but the lessons of the day had already begun to echo through both worlds. And the Queen, from her high citadel, could not look away. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more tests of courage and restraint. But one thing was certain: Marcus Hale was no ordinary human. And the Queen would soon learn that observing him was only the beginning of a journey that could change everything. The following day, the air on Zorath was thick with tension. Marcus Hale and his squad moved through a narrow canyon leading closer to the alien city. The terrain was uneven, sharp rocks jutting out like jagged teeth. Every step required attention. Every sound demanded caution. But Marcus moved with confidence, his eyes scanning the horizon for both threats and opportunities. The alien Queen watched him closely from her citadel. The night had done little to dull her curiosity. Marcus was different from any human she had encountered, resilient, disciplined, and strangely calm. She had tried to test him indirectly, sending patrols, but he had responded with patience and restraint. That very restraint frustrated her, yet intrigued her at the same time. A sudden explosion ripped through the valley ahead. Rocks tumbled down and dust filled the air. Marcus immediately ordered his squad to take cover. From the rising dust, alien soldiers emerged. Not his usual patrols, but a rogue faction loyal to none but their own ambition. Their glowing eyes burned with aggression as they raised energy weapons toward the humans. "Captain, they're coming for us!" Lieutenant Sarah shouted, fear and urgency in her voice. Marcus remained calm. "Hold your positions," he commanded. "We will defend ourselves if necessary, but we do not strike first." The rogue aliens advanced, firing pulses of energy. Marcus's squad returned fire, not to kill, but to disable, carefully aiming to avoid lethal hits. Bullets of energy collided with shields, and the canyon shook with the noise of battle. Marcus moved like a conductor, orchestrating each maneuver with precision. Soldiers followed orders without hesitation, and slowly, the rogue faction began to retreat. The battle was over almost as quickly as it had begun. Dust settled, and the canyon was eerily quiet. Marcus scanned the scene. No human was seriously hurt, and none of the aliens were killed. His squad had survived another test. The Queen's observation point above the citadel was filled with both anger and curiosity. "He holds back when he could strike and destroy," she murmured. "Why would a human spare their enemy when survival demands victory?" Marcus knew this would not be the last challenge. The Queen had been watching carefully, and her tests would grow more difficult. As the squad regrouped, Marcus spoke quietly to Sarah. "This is what I mean. We show strength not through destruction, but through restraint. The Queen needs to see that courage is not just about firepower, it's about choices. That evening, the Queen herself arrived near the canyon in a sleek, hovering transport. Her presence was imposing. The air seemed to thrum with her authority. Marcus stepped forward to meet her, his squad holding back respectfully. "You continue to defy expectation, Marcus Hale," she said, her voice sharp yet tinged with curiosity. "You hold back when others would strike. You risk your life to save your enemies. Why?" Marcus met her gaze steadily. "Because life is more than winning battles. Every action matters. The choices we make define who we are, not the weapons we carry." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Words are easy. Actions are harder. Tell me, Captain, what would you do if I gave the order to destroy your squad?" Marcus did not flinch. "I would follow my principles, not blind orders. I would protect my team, yes, but I would not become a weapon of cruelty, even if commanded. That is the difference between humans and tyrants." For a moment, silence fell between them. The Queen's expression was unreadable. Then suddenly she spoke, her words sharp and biting. "Foolish human, you have spirit, but you are naive. The universe does not reward mercy. Strength is survival. Weakness is extinction. Do you truly believe your fragile morality can change anything?" Marcus listened quietly, his jaw firm. He felt the weight of her words, yet he did not respond with anger or fear. Instead, he spoke calmly, each word deliberate. "I do not fight to prove strength. I fight to show humanity. If my actions inspire others even in the smallest way, then it is not naive. It is necessary." The Queen stared at him. She had faced countless leaders, generals, and warriors who had sworn loyalty to her will, yet none had faced her with such calm defiance. Marcus did not yell, he did not threaten, he simply stood firm. And in that moment, she felt something she had never felt before: uncertainty. "Very well," she said, her voice tight with restraint. "You shall face a true test, one that will reveal if your morality is a shield or a weakness." Before Marcus could respond, she gestured, and a large energy field surrounded the human's position. The terrain shifted suddenly, as if the planet itself obeyed her command. Rocks rose, craters formed, and the squad was trapped within a confined space. Rogue alien warriors appeared again, this time far more numerous, encircling them completely. "Your courage and morality will be tested now," the Queen said. "Will your principles survive when survival demands compromise?" Marcus assessed the situation. His squad looked at him, fear evident but trust unwavering. He understood the stakes. Any mistake could mean death. Yet he also saw an opportunity, not to fight senselessly, but to demonstrate the strength of humanity in another way. He took a deep breath and made a decision. "Hold your fire," he commanded. "We do not fight unless absolutely necessary. We will survive with our honor intact." The rogue aliens hesitated, confused by the humans' lack of aggression. Marcus's calm and deliberate movements made it impossible for them to predict his next action. Slowly, the energy field began to falter, destabilized by the humans' restraint and clear command over themselves. The Queen watched silently, her curiosity deepening into a storm of emotions. Marcus's choice was more powerful than any weapon. He had shown control, courage, and humanity all at once. She realized that no force of brute strength could match the impact of a being who fought with honor. Finally, Marcus gave one last command. "Step away slowly, and we will not harm you. Let this end peacefully." The rogue aliens, sensing the humans' resolve, withdrew carefully, their aggression replaced by caution. The energy field dissipated, leaving the humans unharmed. Marcus turned to his squad, nodding with quiet approval. The Queen's expression was unreadable as she observed Marcus. Her tests had failed to break him. He had survived not through aggression, but through restraint and courage. For the first time, she felt a pang of respect, a recognition that humanity's strength was something different, something she had underestimated. As night fell over Zorath, Marcus looked up at the stars, exhausted but unwavering. He knew the Queen would continue to challenge him, but he also knew that each act of restraint, each choice to protect rather than destroy, was slowly reshaping her view of humans. "Captain," Sarah said softly, "you did it again. You survived and you made them question themselves." Marcus nodded. "Survival is not enough. We must show them who we are. That is the real challenge. Every battle, every decision is an opportunity to prove that humanity's courage is more than physical strength." And in the shadowed halls of her citadel, the alien queen watched him, her mind alive with thoughts she could not yet name. Marcus Hale was more than a soldier. He was a lesson, and the true test, the one that would shake the foundations of her empire, was only beginning. The morning on Zorath began quietly, almost eerily. The alien city, usually alive with hums of energy and movement, was subdued. Even the air seemed tense, as if the planet itself sensed what was about to unfold. Captain Marcus Hale stood outside the canyon where he and his squad had faced their last test. His armor, scratched and scorched from previous encounters, felt heavier today, not because of weight, but because of the choices it symbolized. The alien queen had watched him throughout the night from her high citadel. Every movement, every breath, was observed with growing fascination. Marcus was no ordinary human. He had survived not through violence, but through calm intelligence and moral courage. Yet the Queen's curiosity now carried an edge of frustration. He was not just surviving, he was defying her expectations, and that made her uneasy. Marcus gathered his squad, speaking in a measured voice. "Today we continue, but remember, our strength is not in weapons. It is in the choices we make. Each life we save, each decision to show restraint, teaches more than victory ever could." Lieutenant Sarah looked at him with quiet admiration. "Captain, you've changed the rules of engagement. Even the Queen seems unsure of us now." Marcus nodded. "Good. That uncertainty is more powerful than any weapon. But we must remain steady. We act with honor, no matter what happens." The squad moved through the valley, cautiously approaching the outskirts of the alien city. Sensors and patrols scanned the terrain, but Marcus guided his team carefully, avoiding unnecessary conflict. Every step was deliberate, every action controlled. It was a display not of weakness, but of a new kind of strength, a strength that drew attention without striking a single blow. From the citadel balcony, the Queen observed. Her glowing eyes followed Marcus's every movement. She had summoned her most loyal warriors to witness this human in action, yet none of them understood what unsettled her. Marcus did not fight recklessly. He did not boast. He did not seek glory. He acted with a quiet confidence that suggested he valued life over conquest, morality over domination. "You are testing my patience, human," the Queen murmured to herself. "Most would have tried to break me or fled, yet you walk steadily through danger, and still, you do not yield." As they reached a small plateau overlooking the city gates, the Queen finally decided to confront Marcus directly. She descended in her sleek hovercraft, her movements graceful, her armor gleaming in the dim light. The ground seemed to respond to her presence, the very planet acknowledging her authority. "Captain Hale," she called, her voice carrying over the plateau, sharp and commanding. "You have defied expectation at every turn. You have survived my tests, yet you show no aggression, no fear, no anger. How is this possible?" Marcus stepped forward, keeping his posture relaxed but firm. Your tests are designed to provoke violence and fear. We do not respond the same way. We survive through control, through judgment, and through moral courage. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter. Control, judgment, moral courage? You speak as if your species is more than it appears, and yet you are weak. You could seize the city, take my empire, and claim victory in moments. Why do you hold back? Marcus did not answer immediately. He looked around at his squad, then back toward the Queen. Because victory without honor is meaningless. Strength is more than defeating enemies. True power is in knowing when not to fight and when to walk away. The Queen's expression hardened. She had encountered warriors who knew tactics, generals who commanded armies, and diplomats who deceived with words. None had stood before her with such calm, such certainty. It unnerved her. "You speak boldly," she said. "Yet words cannot save you. Today, I will see if your principles are a shield or a weakness. Will you continue to cling to morality when survival demands compromise?" Marcus met her gaze. "I will always cling to it. Morality is what separates us from mindless violence. It is what makes life worth protecting." The Queen's hand moved slightly, and a wave of energy surged from the plateau's edge. Rocks rose, dust swirled, and a barrier of energy formed around Marcus and his squad. The Queen's warriors surrounded them, weapons raised, ready to strike. This was her ultimate test, a situation designed to force Marcus to choose between survival and his principles. "Now," she said, her voice cold, "prove to me that your morality can withstand reality. Kill or be killed. Obey or lose everything." Marcus looked at his squad, noting their tense faces. Every instinct told him to fight, to defend, to strike first. But he remembered his own words, his own beliefs. Victory at the cost of honor was not survival. It was surrender to cruelty. He shook his head slightly, then made a decision that shocked everyone, including the Queen. "I will not fight on your terms," Marcus said, slowly removing his helmet. His squad froze, confused and alarmed. "I will not become a weapon of destruction. I will not strike to please you, nor to survive without integrity." One by one, Marcus began removing his armor, placing each piece carefully on the ground. The Queen watched, her glowing eyes widening. No human had ever done this, not in her empire, not in her experience. Marcus stood in the open, unarmed, fully exposed, yet calm and dignified. You lay down your armor?" the Queen asked, disbelief and fascination in her voice. "You abandon your defenses while surrounded by my warriors?" Marcus nodded. "I walk away from this fight, not because I am weak, but because I refuse to fight on cruelty's terms. Strength is not in domination. Courage is not in destruction. I will survive, yes, but with my principles intact." The alien warriors hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Marcus's squad slowly followed his lead, removing armor but keeping calm composure. The energy barrier flickered, unstable now, unable to contain a force it could not understand. Human morality expressed as courage. The Queen felt a strange sensation, a mix of frustration, confusion, and something she could not name. She had expected fear, aggression, panic. Instead, Marcus had given her neither. He had shown strength, not in battle, but in restraint. "You dare defy me by walking away?" she asked, her voice barely containing a mix of anger and admiration. "I dare to act as a human should," Marcus replied calmly. "I dare to prove that courage is more than weapons, and strength more than numbers. I will not fight on cruelty's terms." Then, without another word, Marcus began to walk away from the plateau, each step deliberate and dignified. His squad followed, their movements synchronized, their courage evident. The alien warriors and the Queen watched in stunned silence. As he walked, the Queen realized something profound. Marcus's actions had already won, not through violence, not through conquest, but through the quiet, unwavering display of humanity. He had chosen dignity over dominance, morality over fear, courage over aggression. The queen remained on the plateau, her mind racing. She had never witnessed such strength. Her empire had never seen such defiance without anger, such bravery without weapons. Marcus Hale had done something extraordinary. He had walked away, and in doing so, he had taught a lesson that no army could deliver. The night fell over Zorath, painting the alien city in silver light. Marcus and his squad disappeared from view, walking steadily into the valley beyond. Their steps echoed a message that reached far beyond themselves. Humanity's courage was not measured in battle alone, but in the choices that defined their very character. And in the silent halls of her citadel, the queen reflected on what she had witnessed. For the first time, she understood that power and respect were not the same. Strength without honor was hollow, and courage, true courage, sometimes walked away. The sun rose slowly over the jagged horizon of Zorath, casting long shadows across the alien city and the valley where Captain Marcus Hale had walked. The humans were no longer in the immediate sight of the queen, yet their presence lingered in the minds of the aliens. News of their actions, calm, moral, and courageous, spread quietly among both human and alien forces. Marcus and his squad moved steadily through the valley, their steps measured, their expressions calm. They were no longer preparing for combat, yet their vigilance remained sharp. Each soldier understood what they had witnessed. True strength was not in victory over others, but in the courage to act with honor, even when the outcome was uncertain. Lieutenant Sarah glanced at Marcus. "Captain, do you think the Queen will change? Do you think she understands what we've done?" Marcus looked up at the twin moons beginning to rise in the sky. "Perhaps. Change does not happen overnight. But every act we take, every choice we make leaves a mark. That mark may grow into something larger, even in her mind." Far above in her citadel, the alien queen watched the humans move away. Her glowing eyes followed them as if trying to read their thoughts. She had seen countless species rise and fall, had crushed entire worlds, yet none had left her with such uncertainty. Marcus Hale had walked away, unarmed, refusing to fight under cruelty's terms, and it unsettled her deeply. She recalled every moment she had observed him, his calm in the canyon, his restraint with rogue warriors, his choice to save the alien child, and finally, his decision to lay down his armor. Each act challenged her understanding of power. For centuries, she had ruled with strength and fear. Marcus had shown her that strength could be quiet and courage could exist without violence. Her closest advisors watched her in silence. None dared speak. They knew their queen was struggling with something she rarely experienced: respect for a human. "What do you feel, my queen?" one finally whispered. The queen's gaze remained fixed on the valley. "I feel uncertainty, but not weakness. Perhaps admiration. Perhaps even hope." Back in the valley, Marcus and his squad found a small plateau to rest. They had survived countless tests, yet Marcus knew the journey was not over. There were still many decisions to make, many opportunities to show the values of humanity. "Sarah," he said quietly, "we've proven something important. Not to them, not to the Queen, but to ourselves. We know that courage, integrity, and morality are more powerful than weapons. That is what humans offer the universe." Sarah nodded, her eyes reflecting both relief and admiration. "You've inspired everyone here, Captain. Not just humans. Even some of the aliens are talking about what you've done." In the heart of the alien city, whispers spread among the soldiers and citizens. The Queen's elite warriors spoke in low tones about the human who refused to fight, the human who chose morality over survival and courage over conquest. Some aliens questioned their own actions, wondering if there could be another way, a path that did not rely solely on domination and fear. The Queen herself pondered Marcus's choices late into the night. She considered the possibility that her empire had misunderstood what true strength meant. Perhaps victory and survival were not the only measures of power. Perhaps respect, honor, and moral courage were forces far greater than she had ever considered. In her private chamber, she whispered to herself, almost as a promise, "If this human can teach my warriors courage without violence, perhaps there is hope for change. Perhaps humanity is more than fragile flesh. Perhaps they are remarkable." Meanwhile, Marcus and his squad continued their journey, leaving the valley behind and moving toward safer ground. Along the way, they encountered small groups of aliens who had heard of their actions. Some approached cautiously, not with weapons, but with curiosity. Marcus welcomed these encounters carefully, offering gestures of peace, small acts of kindness, and words of understanding. Each interaction was deliberate, building trust not through fear, but through respect. By the time they reached a ridge overlooking the alien city once more, Marcus paused. From this vantage point, he could see the Queen standing on her balcony, her silhouette framed by the rising moons. She watched him silently, a mixture of emotions reflected in her posture. Marcus gave her a respectful nod. It was simple, yet powerful, an acknowledgement of what had been and a promise of what could be. For the first time, the Queen responded with a nod of her own. Not a nod of submission, not a nod of command, but a nod of recognition. She had seen courage. She had witnessed morality. And she had begun to understand that humanity's strength was not in its technology or weapons, but in its principles. As Marcus and his squad moved beyond the horizon, word of their journey spread. Other humans, inspired by the story, began to act with the same courage and integrity. Even among the aliens, murmurs of admiration and curiosity grew. Small changes began to ripple through the city and beyond, hints of a future where conflict might give way to understanding. Marcus looked back one final time, his eyes meeting the Queen's distant gaze. He knew that the future was uncertain and that many challenges still lay ahead. But he also knew that a single act of courage, a single choice to walk away rather than fight under cruelty's terms, had the power to change more than one life or one world. "Sarah," he said softly, "this is what we fight for. Not conquest, not glory, but the possibility that one day, even the most hardened hearts can see what courage truly is." Sarah smiled, her expression filled with quiet pride. "Captain, you've shown everyone, human and alien alike, that strength is not measured by weapons. It's measured by principles." The twin moons rose high in the sky, casting silver light over the valley and the distant city. Marcus and his squad walked steadily forward, leaving behind the battlefield, leaving behind expectations, and carrying with them the quiet power of humanity's courage. In the citadel, the Queen stood silently, her thoughts heavy but reflective. She had witnessed something extraordinary, a human soldier who had survived impossible tests, not through force, but through restraint, not through domination, but through morality. In that, she had glimpsed a force far stronger than any weapon. For the first time, the Queen considered a new path, not one of conquest and fear, but one of respect, understanding, and perhaps even cooperation. Marcus Hale had walked away, but he had left behind more than soldiers, more than armor, more than tactics. He had left a lesson that courage, integrity, and moral strength could shape the future of worlds. And in that quiet, reflective moment, the seeds of change began to grow, both in the human heart and in the heart of the alien queen. The universe was vast, uncertain, and full of challenges. But Marcus Hale had shown that even in the darkest places, humanity's courage could shine. And that courage, quietly and steadily, could inspire a future where understanding might triumph over war and honor might guide even the most powerful. The story ended not with a battle, nor with a conquest, but with the quiet, enduring power of choice, a choice that had the potential to change everything.